What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special May Day edition of the Bitchuation Room podcast, a live stream, later stream, whatever it is to you. I'm so glad you press play. I'm so glad you tuned in. I'm so glad you shared the stream and you subscribed to this goddamn channel. I mean, how much fucking fire content must one put out to convince you that this is where you need to be and this is what you need to listen to? All right? Clearly more, because we have such a good show. Labor author Kim Kelly is here, going to be breaking down all the things from Starbucks to Amazon to everything else that has led us to this moment, kind of a new upsurge in class consciousness, labor activity, union activity. We have so far to go, but it is very heartening and exciting. And so it is a different kind of May Day, and I'm fucking pumped. Also, comedian James Fritz is here, and we are not only going to talk about all things union, but we are going to imagine what would a social media platform not run by a sociopathic billionaire look like? What would that be? How could that work? Would it ever work now that Elon is buying Twitter or is trying to buy Twitter? And all we can do is just talk about Elon every single effing day, and it drives me up the wall. Let's imagine James and I are going to do that. That's going to be our final segment. You join in. And then, of course, we've got a bonus bish for all the patrons. And this time, honestly, this is some big lib shit of me to do. But let's talk about the White House press correspondence dinner, because I thought it was actually okay. Yes, I did. And I think it is important for people in power to be able to laugh at themselves, until it becomes sort of like a king court jester situation and it's like release the hounds, that kind of thing. But Trevor Noah and also Joe Biden told some jokes, and I want to break it down, obviously, with a comedian. So James and I are going to rank, assess, grade how both of them did. That's in the bonus bish, and you guys, of course, get access to that when you become patrons. Patreon.com/bitchuation room is how you get access to that every single goddamn week, you guys. If you're a patron, you get a special RSS feed. It's super cute. It's like rainbow colored. And then you get 15 more minutes of content, a new story, and that's exclusive to you all. And now here's the thing about the Patreon. By the way, I'm Francesca Fiorentini. Have I mentioned that? That's my fucking show. No, we're going to do something a little, I don't know, a contest. Is this a contest? It's like a call-in. Basically, we're very close to getting 300 patrons, which is really exciting. And every single one of you has, and I don't say this lightly, is the reason that we can do this. That's it. I appreciate it. If you've been a patron in the past, if you're $2 a month, I don't care. You make this show possible, and thank you. And if you are the 300th patron, next week or the week after, depending on when I reach that, let's hope it's before next week, I'm going to invite you on to the bonus bish. Yes, that's right. We've got an open platform here. As long as you got Chrome and a camera, shit, man, you could do it on your phone. Get into the bonus bish, throw down with me in the comic that we have on next week or the week after. And tell us about your life. Opine, join in. I'm excited to have you on. That's the 300th patron. We will make sure we know who you are, and you will never forget it. And then you're here for life. So, also subscribe carefully or whatnot. And if you don't mess with the Patreon, you can obviously tip the show, TBR-live on Venmo, TBR live on Cash App. We again have such a really good show. And I want to get to it all. So first, let me just go into and let us make some space in our lives for the things that we are bitching about. This is What Are You Bitching About? So, I might lose a lot of you when I start off what I'm bitching about. And I also might get a little excited, and so but I've got to maintain some zen because I'm gestating a little mini me inside right now, so she can feel and stuff. The other day, the cat like jumped on the window, and I thought I was gonna have a heart attack because I thought it was. I've been listening to a lot of Stephen King. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, I thought I was gonna die, and I could feel the baby was like, had fucking knives out, like, you know. It's not a baby yet. It's still a fetus. Anyway, there was a solar eclipse in the last day or so. Trust me, this is going somewhere. And it's transiting the Taurus quadrant. That's not a real thing. Whatever. There's a solar eclipse in Taurus. Basically, you got to figure out where Taurus was when you were born, and then kind of like that's sort of what this solar eclipse means. And so Taurus, when I was born, was in this place of like thinking and philosophy and like this means in my moment that I'm like kind of having a reckoning around what is my philosophy, what is my frame of mind and thinking. And it kind of relates to a conversation I was having pretty recently on a sister or brother podcast about class reductionism and versus, I guess, identity politics. And it's a topic I care a lot about, and it's a topic that I have not talked openly that much about, but I feel like if you know me and you know this show, and if you've listened to any of the guests that I've had on, you'll know a couple things about me. You'll know that one, I am very much action first and ideology second. I'm not an ideologically driven person, very much more a strategic person. Maybe that makes me a big ol' centrist Dem. I don't think so. I think it's someone who wants to win, at least in my lifetime, on a number of levels. So I never try to give my audience or my listeners purity tests. But if you also listen to everyone I've had on, you understand that there is a big theme, and that is real intersectionality, truly understanding the way that race and class and gender and sexuality and all of our different identities intersect and interplay because we have been so divided by what Bell Hooks, the late great Bell Hooks, called white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, which she did not see as being able to be separated from one another. Now, here's the reality of what's going on the left. On the left, in some social movements, some organizing, and some on a lot of online left spheres, which is that shit is done. Like identity politics, that's over with. And I understand why. I think a lot of people were radicalized by, I think a lot of people were politicized by Obama. I think a lot of people put a lot of stock in Obama. Me, I knew we were going to be disappointed, very disappointed. I was politicized and radicalized a lot earlier than that. And a lot of people, they don't mean to, but they play into a little bit of like, thanks, Obama, but from the left. And I understand that the Democratic Party weaponizes identity politics and woke washes, so to speak, which is the only time I will say woke. Woke washing is very real. Movements like the Black Lives Matter movement and other movements as well. And I understand the ways we're supposed to Yaz Queen someone who we fundamentally might disagree with, like our Vice President Kamala Harris. It's all BS. Our job is to not conflate, in my opinion, that attempt at low-hanging identity politics fruit with a real holistic struggle for racial and economic justice, okay? And the more we only dunk, like I love dunking on the Yes Queens and it's so funny, and the Yes girl boss bitch, I do think it's funny, but at a certain degree, I'm like, yeah, but there is legislation after legislation robbing women of their basic human rights right now. So like it's all funny when Democrats do it, but this shit is real, and that these struggles are radical as fuck. All right? I feel like we don't have a lot of mentors on the left, and I feel sad about that. Now, all of this is to say I'm a Marxist. Of course I'm a Marxist. Identity politics was coined by Black radical feminists, avowed Marxists, who did not feel like they belonged either in the women's movement or in the Black Power movement or in a lot of socialist organizations that kept on telling them, shut up about your identity because we're only about class struggle. That's all it's about. And so the particularities of the way that you are oppressed, which, yes, intersect with class, you need to shut up about. Barbara Smith, who endorsed Bernie Sanders. Oh, what a lib. Who coined identity politics, part of the Combahee River Collective. I urge everyone to read it. So not only is class reductionism ideologically wrong, in my opinion, but it is also, and this is the last thing I'll say, out of step with where the majority of Americans in this country are. You might think it's lib, you might think it's centrist, but the reality is massive amounts of multiracial young folks were out on the fucking streets because they killed an unarmed Black man. You would not have seen that 30 years ago. You're not seeing solidarity marches. We are at a moment that cannot be ignored and should not be ignored by the left. Obviously, by centrist Dems, it is, but by the left, it cannot be and it should not be. This is not weak sauce identity politics. It is radical. And you're going to be irrelevant if your politics does not incorporate that. And finally, I'll just say, if you think you understand capitalism and you're a big fucking anti-capitalist, oh yeah, you're a big commie, you're a big socialist, whatever you think you are, and you believe that racism and capitalism can be separated, then you have no idea of which you speak, because you have no idea how capitalism formed in the majority of the country on the backs of indigenous bodies, of Black bodies. That was part of it. That was the whole fucking structure. That is all I will say. Please do not make yourself vulnerable to retrograde thinking. Please read people like Bell Hooks, like Robin D.G. Kelly, like Max Elbaum, who is my mentor, who I've had on this show many times, who wrote an entire anthology of the ways that Marxist-Leninist, dogmatic, cadre organizations fucked up in the 70s, man. Really fucked up. And we're about to talk with a labor writer and historian who is lifting up a lot of the stories of women, people of color, LGBTQ plus folks, the disabled. And the labor movement has absolutely been guilty of missing out on opportunities because they're too busy dividing themselves in terms of like not taking racism and sexism seriously enough, right? It's a long time when the labor movement did not want to organize undocumented workers or immigrants. Hello, Cesar Chavez. Why do you think that was such a radical new movement? It's because he was iced out of everywhere else. So just something to chew on for the class reductionists in the audience. And if I'm speaking to no one, then fuck, man, you've been listening to the right podcast. And that is the most ideology you will get out of me and what I am bitching about. And let us move on and bring in my guest. He is a stand-up comedian based in LA, and his album Still Together was released by a Special Thing Records, and he's a writer on the Frankie Quinones Show podcast. Please welcome James Fritz.
Hi, Francesca.
Hi, James. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. This is not my house. Before anyone thinks I am a class traitor, I am dog sitting.
I know, with all those palm trees framed. How much was that, honestly?
I don't know.
All the Joshua tree.
But they have a Kamala Harris book presenting on the shelf. All right, that's all I'm going to say. And I'm wearing an LA Taco shirt. So that's where we are.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, James. You heard me rant for a very long time. What are you yourself bitching about today?
Well, listening to you, I almost audibled. I was going to bitch about the FDA banning menthol cigarettes.
Really?
Yeah, no, I think this. Okay, this is the problem. Okay. I've always said Democrats lost Ohio forever when we banned smoking in bars. That was gone. And secondly, you can't be a nanny state and not provide the caretaking part that a nanny provides. Like, we're not going to give us health care, but you have to stop any enjoyment that might. This is bad policy. This isn't just an emotional argument. I think it's stupid. I think it's in line with 90s neoliberalism that just won't quit. And it drives me crazy. And then, like, I say we call the anti-maskers bluffs. Like, whenever I saw, like, people celebrating on the planes when the announcement was made.
Oh, that was brilliant,
like, we had just dug up bin Laden and killed him again. Like, I was like...
And he was wearing a mask when we did it, but yes.
Yeah, I was like, can we smoke on planes now? How far are we going with freedom? Like, I would love to see like a maskless lady being like, put that out, please. I'm like, oh, secondhand smoke, but you know, anyway. But your thing sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say on menthols, I think that is important. I mean, it reminds me of the big gulp ban, which like ultimately I'm like, I guess I think I'm for that just because I feel like if it was but that's just because if I saw a loved one with a big gulp, I'd be like, babe, really? But that's my, elitism. Right. But it's totally regressive and stupid and performative. And you're like, yeah, give fucking people healthcare.
All it does is piss people off. I don't, this isn't winning one vote.
Right.
Like, I mean, I know it's the FDA and they're not, but let's be real. Everything's political now. But
the FDA has so many bigger fish to fry. Anyway,
right. Yes. That's another thing too that came out this week. I'm like, okay, so we're just done with COVID, huh? Like, we got to make sure these rappers don't smoke, don't talk about menthol in their song.
Your grandma cannot enjoy the remaining lung capacity she has. That's what we want to do.
Right. I know some people, I'm from Kentucky. I know some people that are only living to keep smoking menthol cigarettes. Like, that's all they have left in their tank, man. Their oxygen tank. But I was thinking about the lady who gave that speech in Michigan. I think she was a House representative, about like finally fighting back on all the insane grooming shit that's been being talked about. Did you see that?
Yes,
where she like went in.
Yes, the state legislator.
Yeah, and I'm like Democrats on the left, you have to engage with this stuff. You have to engage with women's rights and racial equality and trans equality, because like if you ignore it, they automatically get stronger and win. And like, but they're so afraid to touch it. And then stories came out after that video went viral, and Democrats were like, maybe we should start combating this. And I'm like, yes, you have to do that. Like, it's just insane to me. All trans people I know in my life, because I'm 44. Jesus, I just had a birthday. I'm old as shit for LA. I'm ancient.
You just gave yourself 3 more years. I love how you just stuck 41. You're like, you know what, James, forever, you're 41 from now on.
No, I think that smoking rant was from 3 years ago, and my brain thought I was younger than I was. But but like, you know, I had to adjust. I didn't grow up without trans people, of course, in Western Kentucky in the fucking 80s and 90s.
Right.
And like but I know tons of trans people now, and all I've ever gotten from them is like, hey, can you try to use the right pronoun? And like, that was it. And even when I would fuck up, they'd be like, hey, I'm sorry, but like, can you try? And I'd be like, oh, okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. And then it was over. And for like, all they said was, can you call me this? And people were like, let's throw them in jail. Like, trans people never said, if you call me the wrong pronoun, you should go to jail. Then I would be like, okay, we might be getting a little too woke.
No, and I think all this is like, you know, no, I don't believe in like policing one another around all this stuff, you know, and I don't believe in condemning people to, you know, whatever, cancellation if they mess up someone's pronoun. But for sure, there is a very ridiculous stratification of oppression that the left also participates on, that is effectively the Dave Chappelle it's sort of like, we need to fix racism before I'm going to get your pronouns right, which I think is incredibly reactionary.
Yeah.
And
it's inherently conservative.
Yeah. And the people who lift up someone like Chappelle's sort of ideology are also people who would never lift a finger for racial justice.
Right.
They just want to say that, yeah, black people have it worse than trans people, and it's my job as most likely a white guy to like organize the what to do / what never to do.
Right. And if you don't combat it, again, Like, it's just insane to me. Netflix gave him $80 billion and they haven't taken it down, and people have quit their jobs, and still everyone's like, Netflix stock went down, go woke, go broke. I'm like, when did they go? When did that happen?
No.
It's all capitalism doesn't give a fuck about wokeness, baby.
No,
Like,
they really don't. And it's so important for people to like just pull that apart and understand what is corporate bullshit and what is like a real movement. And I'm actually, last thing I'll say on this, I'm so upset about what's happening to Roe v. Wade, but I'm also very thrilled at the wake up call for a lot of like nonprofits like Planned Parenthood that have been so stuck in their ways, that have earned, they fundraise a lot off of Trump. And and what do we really have to show for it? They're stopping abortions right now, and mostly it's local clinics that are doing the heavy lifting. So you're just kind of like, yeah, none of y'all were, the fight was never kept up,
Right. Well, the fight became just about being in opposition that could fundraise. Like, to me, that's what it seems like. I can't think of much actual progress that has been gained. I mean, gay marriage, that's about it.
I think
I think that's going to be gone.
They're going for it next. 100% they're going for it next. Yeah. And anyway, we could talk forever about this, but I do want to bring in Kim.
Yes, please. Someone smart.
Let's bring in someone smart to tell us what she's bitching about. Why am I not finding your butt? All right. She is a labor reporter, and she has a new book out called Fight Like Hell. Hang on, let me get this right, actually. Fight Like Hell, the untold history of American labor. Everybody, please welcome Kim Kelly.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, thank you for being here.
Dude, happy May Day, what a great way to spend it.
Happy May Day. I'm so lucky we were able to get you and make this work. And as you wrote in your email, this will keep you out of trouble. So I wanted to, Kim, before we get into the week, we're doing things a little differently. I'm bringing you in. What are you bitching about today?
The fact that May Day is still not recognized in the U.S. as the International Workers' Holiday, and they try to feed us this Loyalty Day bullshit every year to try and pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yep.
Wait, what did you say? They feed us this Loyalty Day? What is that?
Loyalty Day. So this is, I don't know if they did it before. So this is like a long-standing tradition going back to I wrote a whole thing on it. Y'all can Google it. But essentially, there's this whole tradition in the U.S. that the president will issue a proclamation on May 1st saying that May 1st is Loyalty Day, to be loyal to America. And that is something that is like any day they would do that would be distasteful to say the least. But they do that on May Day because, again, they don't want us to realize most other countries recognize International Workers' Day, but in the U.S., they don't like when we know about our history, or they don't like when we think about, getting ideas. So happy Loyalty Day.
It's so funny. That actually even sounds like Starbucks rewards program on there. Get points every year.
This sounds like, was it a Nixon or a Reagan or a Carter? Who did this?
That was earlier. I have to go back to, I wrote about this for Teen Vogue a couple of years ago, and I think they let me use the title that Labor Day is a government scam, because it is.
Read that.
There's a whole history there too. I don't remember exactly which president was behind it. One of them, they're never up to any good. But there's a history there. They're always trying to, the people in power are always trying to keep us from knowing the real truth and the real history, and to blind us with these sort of Starbucks loyalty ass proclamations.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to ask you more about that history, and we're going to get into it. Actually, just really briefly, May Day was started in this country.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Parsons, Albert Parsons. Yeah, it's So, okay, the first May Day parade happened in Chicago in 1886. It was led in part by Lucy Parsons and Albert Parsons, this pair of anarchist organizers and orators in Chicago who were deeply involved in the movement for the fight for the 8-hour day. And on that day in Chicago, they led a massive procession of unemployed workers and employed workers down through a main thoroughfare in Chicago, basically being like, hey, we're serious about this whole 8-hour day thing. Hello, we are here. There's lots of us, just so you know. And actually, what happened a few days later, I'm sure your listeners know about the Haymarket affair, but just to cliff notes it, a few days later, there was a rally in support of striking workers at the McCormick's Reaper Works. There's a rally to support them. A couple anarchists and socialists and just labor organizers spoke, and a bomb was thrown. We still don't know who threw it, and it took out some cops and it took out a whole bunch of regular people too. And what happened after that was that the state decided that they were gonna try and convict like 7 anarchist dudes who weren't even there, like they weren't really connected, but they were doing anarchism. They were being naughty.
So they were around doing anarchism.
Yeah.
And at this point, anarchism is, please, we only want to work 8 hours a day because that's human.
Right? Like it's honestly, we're very nice. I swear, always been very nice people. But all that to say, they basically 7 innocent men were tried, convicted. 4 of them were murdered by the state. One of them was Albert Parsons. And a few years later, the AFL. I'm not going to get into like super datey because there's a lot of dates, a lot of 1800s going on. But essentially, like the Congress of the Second International in 1889 called May Day, May 1st, as like a mass day of demonstrations and celebration for the Haymarket martyrs. So May Day started, at least in this country, because a bunch of anarchists were trying to make the world a little bit better and got murked by the state. So happy May Day.
That's the Chicago way.
The Chicago way. And there's a statue there for the Haymarket affair. Obviously, don't call it a riot. Still don't know what. Don't call it a riot. And every time it's May Day, I always remind, like I have a tweet, I think, which is like, hey, if you really hate socialists, like make sure to work a 12-hour work day today to just fucking hand it to them, right?
Yeah, bring your drywall with you. Make sure you're making several pennies and breathing in smoke and just being locked in. Like that's sorry about all that.
Sorry. And bring your child to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that used to not be a fun holiday. That was just like, oh, that's how we're gonna pay our rent. Junior's coming with me down the coal pit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I am so excited.
History is fun.
It's just great. I'm so excited to actually like finish your book. But yes, let's get into the week. And really, this is the only thing we're going to talk about for this week. Then we're going to talk about Starbucks and Amazon, but briefly. This was the week where, after North Carolina Representative Madison Cawthorn said that the GOP has sex parties in Washington, a bunch of leaked videos and images and stories of him are making front page news. Him in drag, a male staffer grabbing his crotch, carrying a dagger around with him. And I know what you're thinking. Why does this make me hate him less? Clearly, Cawthorn is learning the hard way that the first rule of GOP sex parties is you don't talk about GOP sex parties. And the second rule is don't get in line for the AOC dominatrix if you've already been spanked, okay? She's got one spanking for you, and you can't double dip. The CDC has found that 60% of American adults have had COVID, and 75% of children have had COVID, which means 40% of Americans need to live a little. Jesus fucking Christ. Get out there. House Minority Leader who's hoping to become Majority Leader in November, Kevin McCarthy, was caught on tape after January 6th telling Liz Cheney that he would ask President Trump to resign, which goes against his previous statements downplaying everything that happened that day. Now Republican voters are mad at him because he's not crazy or Trumpian enough, which is hilarious. Suck it, Kevin McCarthy, except for just don't think about what that means for this country because that's very sad. Oklahoma passed a 6-week abortion ban in a copycat bill of Texas without exception of rape, incest, or fetal conditions, which would make the life unviable. Fun. I think it's clear, obviously, that Republicans have a great replacement theory. Yes, they do. They are replacing kids who are wanted with those who are unwanted, thereby guaranteeing more unloved Americans and therefore more Republican voters. You see? Brilliant strategy. We can play this game too. Russia is bombing Kyiv, and Biden asked Congress for $33 billion more in military aid. And let me just say, I know that we would suffer, but I just do hope that Russia does bomb the United States because it's the only way we could get Biden to spend this kind of money in our own country. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, bomb that bridge, dude. Because we really need to rebuild it. Why don't you just get it? Bomb this highway. Well, bomb this school. No one will be there, but we really need a new school. Biden says he is also looking into canceling some student debt, but it will not be $50,000 because that would be far too popular. For everything else, this is the week where. Okay, so let's talk Starbucks. This is not necessarily the week, but every single week, it seems like Starbucks workers or Howard Schultz, their CEO, is making headlines, making waves. So this is the company that used to be lauded for paying a whopping like $9 an hour, you know, and then you get a free Frappuccino every shift or whatever the fuck. And now, of course, they've fallen woefully behind. So in 2021, Starbucks stores in upstate New York filed an election petitions with the NLRB. And since then, 250 other Starbucks stores have done the same, and about 40 have been successful in unionizing. And they've inspired workers across the country in all sectors. Union petitions are up 57% in the first half of 2022. This is just give you a sense. This is from the NLRB itself. Starbucks workers 2021, first 3 Starbucks franchises filed petitions. Okay, not that much activity, but then you've got another one in December and in Buffalo. And then look, January, February, March, April, just the number of petitions go crazy. They have definitely inspired workers across this country, all sectors. And remember, just 6% of private sector workers in this country are unionized at all. And I want to show you in who is seeking to unionize in this country. So you could see 2012 versus 2022. This is also another graphic from the NLRB. And you've got accommodation and food services where I believe Starbucks would fall under going up to, as we said, 27.5% from 3.8% in 2012 to 27.5%. And then retail is huge, art and entertainment and recreation and education services. So needless to say, they have had an impact. And of course, that is scaring Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. And I want to go to him right now to let him have his say. Here he is in a leaked, I don't even know if this is leaked, but he's speaking to his own Starbucks workers about outside forces who are trying to threaten the company. Take a look.
And the challenges are multiple. The pandemic, a post-pandemic customer, the relationship we have with our customers, competitive threats, and now a new outside force that's trying desperately to disrupt our company. Well, I believe in Starbucks more than ever because I believe in all of you. My faith and confidence in the future of Starbucks is based on my faith and confidence in you, not some outside force that's going to dictate or disrupt what we are and who we are and what we do.
Cute. Kim says thumbs down.
Yeah. Oh, I'm also against him. For the record. I mean, I wanted health care and reasonable time off and a fair wage until I heard he had faith in me.
Yeah,
now I'm like, that's all I need is his faith in me.
Every time this man speaks, another baby union gets its wings. Like, honestly.
Yes. Oh my God.
If that guy's telling you that you don't need something, like, what is it? Oh, okay. We should look into this then. Clearly, if this guy thinks that we shouldn't do this, like, this guy looks like my shitty stepdad. Fuck that guy. Fuck this guy. You know, like, why would you trust something that's like that?
Yeah, the graph.
No, absolutely.
The graph of Starbucks is unionizing is directly proportional to the amount of time he speaks in public on camera.
Yeah, they saw him try to run for office in 2020, and as soon as this shit is over, fuck this guy.
He clearly has too much money.
He has way too much money.
If you have time to clean, you have time to clean, man. Like, get behind the counter and do some real work.
That's right. Hell yeah.
But see, that's an interesting question, Kim, because you would think that something more convincing would be like, do a politician's tack, which is like, yeah, here I am. I'm working a shift at Starbucks myself. I'm not that tired. Like it's so easy to be a bad propaganda. I guess it's for me, I'm like, why don't you try like better propaganda? Not this like insanely stale, him being like the outsiders. We've heard that talk for forever.
Since 1866 at
there
least.
There was literally a show that was just that propaganda, Undercover Boss, where like it just was like, look how down to earth our CEO is.
They tried that in Buffalo. They tried that in Buffalo earlier on. I remember because some of those workers were tweeting through it, just like, what is this random like mid-level manager coming in mopping the floor for? Like we don't need them to do that. They're not very good at it. Like what is this supposed to be to us?
The mop's got like all these cameras in it and shit. Like dooby dooby doo.
Yeah, it's easier than spotting a cop at a protest. It's like
right, like you must be lost.
Who's the new guy?
This is the kneeling equivalent. It's definitely like a cop kneeling at a BLM march. But yeah, thoughts, Kim, on, I mean, Starbucks, which is, even now, the far right thinks Starbucks is some emblem of like liberal thought. Tucker Carlson used to say, oh, when Biden is elected, you're going to be forced to drink Starbucks. Like, what the fuck? And everything but, right? And you'd think they'd respond differently, but they have fired workers. And thanks to the NLRB director, basically in Arizona said, no. They filed an injunction on behalf of the 3 workers who were fired in that franchise. And they said, you have to reinstate them. So yeah, I mean, thoughts on
and they claimed what? Starbucks, I read that, or they claimed that they claimed like, no, they just walked out. Like
they were being insubordinate, and
insubordination. Right. That's the blanket excuse that
the blonde roast is never tossed at the end of the day. It's always mixed in with, the dark for the next day. And that's basic.
As my dad used to say, you never toss the blonde. It's a fine company we got here. Fucking creepy old man. I get more mad when it's a creepy old man who's trying to pass as a nerd, like this guy. Just be a creepy old man. Don't try to be like a likable nerd too.
Honestly, just go be rich and leave us alone. Why are you still even going to the office? Go sit somewhere and be rich.
Because nothing's enough. There's never enough money for them. There's never enough attention for them.
It's like they want to be cool and they want to be loved and they want to have all the money and treat us like garbage. It's like, well, you have to pick one. You can't catch them all, sweetheart. Like,
oh my god,
I can't be George Clooney.
George Clooney could exploit me any day. But that being said, do you see? I mean, I know that Kim, your book looked into, and we're going to talk about it more specifically. But it looked through history and all the different sectors that like mobilized and obviously made history, made waves, and who we have to thank for the labor protections that we have today. But in terms of like retail, what does that say to you, and service workers? What does that say to you about like the economy and the moment that we're in right now?
I think one of the reasons that there's been so much public support and interest in the Starbucks Workers United organizing wave is that like most people know what Starbucks is, right? Like how most people know what Amazon is. They've woven themselves into the fabric of our lives, for better or worse. And a lot of union fights and labor struggles and conflicts happen. It takes a little bit more work to find out about them, right? Like people don't necessarily know about the Teamsters going on strike in Seattle. They don't necessarily know about coal miners on strike in Alabama. But if there's some shit going on at their local Starbucks and they're trying to get their latte, like, oh, they're going to pay attention. And like going back to that graph you showed, just the workers in these very public facing jobs that people sort of potentially see as more human. There's a little more empathy there potentially, unless they're the reason that workers are quitting these jobs. Because nobody can behave themselves in this country.
And it takes a lot to say to a customer. I mean, shit, we've been really good at it, as we've seen from the multiple like Karen and Kevin videos or whatever. But like, to say to a customer, this person who is working through a pandemic, who's working hard to get you your non-fat latte, half calf, blah blah blah, like that they are undeserving of a raise, or that they, I think it's just very different.
I think folks are taking inspiration from the fact that like most people know, like, okay, Starbucks is huge. They're everywhere. They probably have a lot of money. And if these people who are, delivering me my daily Frappuccino or whatever, they're standing up against them. And it seems like they're kind of winning. Like, that's very interesting. Maybe that means that I could talk to my boss. I could talk to my coworkers. Like, if they can go up against this like wildly rich billionaire who has stores everywhere in the world and probably on Mars already, like, maybe that means I can do something too. I think hope we're gonna see more people looking at this example and looking at what's happening with Amazon, these massive corporations, and think like, okay, like if they can do it, why can't I? And I hope I hope so. I think so. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to go to this this is from today. Starbucks workers drive nationwide surge in union organizing. And I think, Kim, you're exactly right. Like, basically every single Starbucks franchise has now turned into a franchise where you could talk about labor rights, like where you could talk about unions. Mm-hmm. They fucking did that to themselves. And so anyway, we said that 27.5% of all union election petitions is coming from the food services industry. And a small number of independently owned coffee houses in cities like Minneapolis, Philadelphia, and Nashville are joining hundreds of Starbucks locations around the country in seeking union representation. So that's great that, like, I don't know, Coffee Beans jumping in there, maybe not. Who else we got?
Yeah, good karma here in Philly.
Pete's, come up your ass.
Where you at, Pete's?
Say that again, Kim. We were making dumb jokes.
I would just say, like the works of good karma here in Philly, a small locally smokable coffee chain. Like, they've been kind of hand in hand with the Starbucks workers. Like, there's a whole little movement brewing, if you will, here in Philly.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, like nothing preaches like success. Like,
like very.
That's why Amazon. Yeah, and that's why when you read that Amazon like pays a guy $250,000 an hour to go down to like where was it, Arkansas and Alabama, sorry, and just to try to crush the union.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, it's worth that much because they know if one domino falls, it could change.
We should find out about that second domino from Staten Island.
Yeah,
as soon as tomorrow, May 2nd.
Yes.
Oh, that's tomorrow? Cool.
Let's move to that. So this was also the week where just a few weeks after the first successful and independent union campaign at an Amazon warehouse in Staten Island, the first one in the United States, which is was in Staten Island, now a second vote is coming down the pike, and we're awaiting results. They should be in any moment now. And of course, they're going to call me the first day here. This is the second Amazon warehouse, also on Staten Island, called LDJ5. And I want to just go to a quick video with an outlet that, Kim, you've done awesome work for, More Perfect Union. So here is a little bit of, also, it's the Amazon Labor Union, ALU, independent union, that is helping organize this second warehouse there.
Doing a lot of big captive audience.
Sorry, I'm going to start off and say that's Bernie Sanders and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. They, along with others, had a rally for those workers. So you're going to hear him start off speaking.
Doing a lot of big captive audience meetings.
Yeah, so usually they're like 20 people, but the past week what they've been doing is they've stopped production for the last hour of each shift to bring every single person, 500 people on the shift, into this meeting where the general manager and like the vice president of HR for all of Amazon comes and begs people basically to vote no. Like, never in the history of Amazon have they ever stopped production to pull people for an all hands on deck meeting.
I was working on lane 2 and they pulled like a number of, they're called splitters. They're the people who take the boxes off the conveyor belt and split them into different sections. They pulled probably like 5 of them off of the lane to go take them to a union busting meeting, and it caused a huge pile of boxes. There was another person who was trying to get boxes off the conveyor belt, and it had piled up all the way around his head so that he was trapped next to the conveyor belt, and I had to literally unbury him out of these boxes. And that's because they're pulling people into union busting meetings. So, I mean, they're literally creating safety hazards in order to try to get us to vote no.
The union busting has gotten worse ever since JFK won.
I think the tactics show a level of desperation, and I think workers see that too, and I think it's backfiring. It happened in JFK also. They started to get desperate, they started to get aggressive. They arrested Chris and Brett and Jason.
They're also having the union busters, the outside consultants, disguised as workers. They gave them the blue badges, they hired them on as workers, and they have them on the floor pretending to be workers, talking with the actual workers, telling them to vote no. Meanwhile, these union busters are getting paid $400 an hour.
Get 25-cent raise every 6 months, and then after 3 years, we don't get a raise. We'd have to go to a higher position. When there ain't enough room to get a higher position, you move up, you should get more pay. If I take another job besides where I began at, if I start teaching people my job, I deserve a raise. Each job you take, you should get extra money for what you do.
They don't accept people's shift change to become full-time workers. They've denied me full-time work. There's a lot of favoritism in LDJ5. If you're not really not friends with the managers, you get stuck in the worst lanes.
All the stories, all the horror stories you heard from JFK, they're true in our building too. And they're true in every Amazon building across the country.
Yep, and worse.
So this movement right here, this is just the beginning, and like everyone's been saying.
All right. Kim.
Got me.
Yeah. Watching that, how does that square with the reporting you've done on Amazon in Alabama and Bessemer in terms of the tactics, in terms of the treatment of workers?
Oh, it's like they said, the same horrible things that are happening within those warehouses in Staten Island are happening in Bessemer, and everywhere else. Like the last time I was down there, well, I'm always in Alabama, it seems like, but one of the last times I was down there, I interviewed a couple of workers about the fact that two workers had died the same day at that Amazon facility. One on the actual, the shop floor, and one at the hospital where they were taken after suffering cardiac arrest. And that was just one day. And they know of other people that had died. This is one place in one state, one city. It's the amount of surveillance that Amazon has, created, implemented for itself. It works great for them, but I feel like that same magnifying glass needs to be zeroed in on what they're doing in there, because it's like the jungle all over again. These are just massive mechanized sweatshops where people aren't valued for anything more than their ability to create more profit for that fucking space cowboy.
I mean, nothing proved that. I'm from Western Kentucky, those tornadoes and the people that died in that Indiana warehouse, and the people who died in the county next to where I grew up in that candle factory, not Amazon, but Amazon killed those people in India. It was Indiana, I believe. And they just told them to keep working there when they had a tornado on the radar, it's coming. And they were like, no, you have to stay here and work. And they just killed those people.
Yeah.
I mean, and if that's not the factory, then I don't know what it is,
Yeah, that's totally the jungle. And what, Kim, in terms of the Staten Island vote, what are your thoughts on that victory, at least at the JFK 8 warehouse? And what do you feel like we should take away from it?
It's a huge deal. It's, as I wrote in the intro to my book, I wrote a lot about the Bessemer attempt. Well, they're on their second attempt now. They keep trying, and they're eventually going to win. But like I said, someone has to be the first, and someone else is going to build on that, build on that, build on that. These guys these folks in Staten Island, they flick that first domino, and there's no stopping that momentum, right? And even if it gets tougher, it's going to get tougher when they try to bargain. It's going to get tougher when they sit across from those lawyers. But they've shown that they've built up such a strong community and such a strong base of solidarity that I feel like they can take them on too. And the greatest lessons we can take from their victory and from their success and from their grassroots worker-led campaign is the fact that it came directly from the workers in a way that was very difficult for Amazon's union busters to kind of chisel into. Because in Bessemer, one of the tactics they used was to tell workers, look, these people from New York are going to come down here. They're going to take your money. They're going to mess with your job security. They don't understand you. They don't understand Alabama. And some people listen to that because, if you don't have a strong inoculation campaign, if you don't understand how unions work already, if you're just trying to get a paycheck at the best paying job around, you're like, okay, well, that seems like none of my business. But in Staten Island, they couldn't do that because the workers were organizing in the break room and in the parking lot. It was people that knew one another. Yeah. And it was, I think it's also significant that this victory came because of like Black and brown working class workers, queer and trans workers, younger workers, multilingual workers, folks that like spoke one another's language in a variety of ways on multiple levels. And it's hard to break those bonds. And especially once you get a win, like, I feel like you can't tell them shit.
Can I ask you about the NLRB's ruling, which happened between that first Bessemer vote, which obviously was not successful, and then this vote that said basically Amazon had to let organizers onto the shop floor and allow them to organize rather than what you were reporting on, which was like they changed a stoplight time so that organizers couldn't.
Like you could not get in there. Like organizers couldn't get in there. The worker organizers were doing everything they could, but I think that the NLRB decision was a game changer, and it also kind of gave them a little bit of a boost. Like, oh, like we can do this. Like you can't tell us not to. Like this is clearly what we're doing is right. Yeah, and the law's on our side for once. Like this, it was a huge boost. And whereas in Bessemer, like if they had not even private police, they had local Bessemer police patrolling the parking lot to make sure no one stepped foot on there. I got yelled at more times than I would care to share publicly.
God, that's the worst.
Literal rent-a-cops.
They're racking up overtime.
Yep.
Just to terrorize people as they were trying to go in and out of work.
Yep.
And of course, now this week, Amazon has said that nationwide, it will no longer pay workers who are out sick with COVID or inform workers when someone at their warehouse tests positive for COVID.
Winning hearts and minds.
Hell yeah.
They're already doing that in Alabama. They don't tell people anything. They pretend. But, they'll surveil every move you make. But if someone next to you catches a deadly virus, it's like, oh, you want us to tell you? That seems like a little much.
Yeah.
Right. This is the same company that monitors your bathroom breaks.
Oh yeah.
And won't allow you to where you have to plan them out in advance. And I remember the phrase I really keep on trying to forget, but time off task. Which is I don't know if it's only in Amazon, but that's where I heard it first. The Amazon fucking just corporate overlordism of people working till they, as you just said, die. Or pass out. Anyway.
Well, death is like time off.
The ultimate strike. I ain't coming back in. You can't make me.
Save up all your time off for the end. Yeah.
That is, you and Howie Schultz should really team up. Here's what just tell him the death is time off though.
Well, I would, but he's too cheap even to pay for the extended Zoom. He's still on the free one.
You got to get a Bezos union busting job, not a Starbucks one. But yeah, okay. So Amazon put it out. They're like, we're not going to send notifications in our facilities about COVID, and all employees will now get 5 days of excused unpaid time for confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis, regardless of vaccination status. We will no longer excuse time while waiting for a test result. So, and again, this is my whole thing with, and we're not necessarily talking about COVID, but this is the entire thing with when the country decides it's over.
Yes.
Without putting in proper protections for the so-called essential workers, getting you your fucking whatever it is, nail polish on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about Amazon. That's what happened. The people who are dying are going to be those very same workers that you spent so much wasted breath lauding for so long.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to ask you, Kim, in terms of if you feel like there's a sea change like this, you're reporting before COVID versus you're reporting after COVID, the union efforts and drives before it versus after, how did this pandemic kind of turn up the heat on this whole thing? on something on a situation that was long overdue in terms of activity.
I think there's been a really intense reimagining of how a lot of workers see their labor and their lives and the value that they attach to those things and the value that other people attach to those things. I mean, it's funny because I spent, like, when I first started writing this book, my whole goal was like, I want it to come out in time for May Day. And then all this stuff happened. We had like the pandemic kicked off. We had this idea of the Great Resignation where workers are like, take this job and shove it. I'm going to find something better.
Yes.
We've had like the rise of Striketober, where these very big public, like well reported on strikes, which is not something that we're accustomed to seeing, especially in like ABC News or CNN or whatever. They usually will not deign to, what the PMs are up to.
At all.
And that's a shift too, right? Like the media is realizing, people are actually interested in workers and workers' stories. Like maybe we should, I don't know, maybe we should check this thing out.
Right.
I think
are you getting those primetime hits? Tell me you are. Tell me it's not just the Bitchuation Room.
ABC hit me up to talk about the coal miners. That was pretty sick.
Really?
That's very sick.
Yeah, I think I'm just a little too like gritty, grimy for the other ones. Fine. I would have to not swear, and that's trouble for me personally. But I mean, we're at this moment where like, and I always try and find the optimism, the hope. I'm like fucking heavy metal labor Pollyanna out here. But it does seem like there is this renewed or brand new sense of energy and enthusiasm and optimism, because like organized labor has been on the back foot since like before I was born. Yeah. Like where the numbers aren't great, we don't like the numbers in terms of density, but I feel like there's movement, like there's things happening. Not to give too much credit to anything the government does, but the NLRB has actually kind of grown some teeth. Shout out to Jennifer Abruzzo. Like we were talking about those captive audience meetings at Amazon earlier. Like she just put out a memo recently saying like, let's get rid of those. Like if we can actually get rid of captive audience meetings, that is a huge blow to the Union Busters toolkit.
And what is a captive audience meeting? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's what it's what the workers
thing,
we're talking about. Like, right, when you get pulled into like a classroom, or I guess in the case of that, I don't know how you fit 500 people into any room. I guess you rent out like a fucking venue. But essentially, like you're at work and your boss pulls you in, and it's a mandatory meeting where you have to sit there and listen to anti-union consultants tell you why unions are bad. And that's like, it seems like something that shouldn't be legal, but it extremely is, and Union Busters love it because it's a great way to intimidate and to spread misinformation. And so getting rid of those at bare minimum would be a huge boon. One of the worker organizers I talked to in Bessemer last time I was down there, I asked him, like, what do you think how would that matter to what you guys are trying to do? And he's like, oh, dude, we would have won the first time if people weren't being spending hours having that drilled into their head that this union was going to ruin their lives.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. And then they show them like Hoffa starring Jack Nicholson or something and be like, see?
Yeah, they were literally telling people, like, getting pictures of like union officials' cars and being like, look, they're just going to buy another big truck with your dues.
Right.
Alabama, everyone has a giant truck. Calm down.
I mean, our guy's going to space in a cowboy hat, but this guy's got a new Benz.
Yeah, in fairness.
This guy's staying at a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the same shitty when I stayed there for like 2 months.
How'd I know?
Yeah, it seems like people, especially the younger generation, which is saying as a 34-year-old makes me feel like an ancient crone, but like the younger generation are like really excited about and interested in unions because they're living through this like horrifying moment when there's no jobs, and the jobs that we do have pay us like shit and the world's on fire. Like people want to make change. And people who are younger who are seeing this happen are like, oh shit, like maybe we can do that.
There's not even the lie. There's not even the lie of a safety net anymore for that generation.
Totally.
You know what I mean? There's not even the dream of like going to debt to go to college and everything will be fine. Like that. Even that's been proven a lie. There's no good health. There's nothing.
In fact, the opposite, right?
Rent is going. Yeah, they got.
Rent's too damn high.
The might as well get paid more at your fucking shitty job. Yeah.
I mean, and it's in fact the opposite, right? Because when we know that companies like Walmart rely on food stamp programs to supplement what they're not willing to pay, it's just like, well, that there you fucking go. That's exactly right. Your externality, your capitalist externality of, I guess people can't make ends meet is suddenly, That's essentially a government handout to them. It's not a government handout to the people who actually need it.
Mhm.
But anyway, I wanted to just show you, to bolster the point that Kim, you're making, that unionizing is incredibly, and labor unions are incredibly popular. This is, so you could see in 2021 we're at like 68% approval rating, and it's the first time I think since 1964 that support for unions, this is according to Gallup, first time support for unions has been this high. So
That's
it's
amazing.
yeah,
That's shocking to me, actually.
It's almost
great.
as if people are realizing that unions are a good thing. You're like, oh, let me get some of that.
Right, after 40 years of anti-union propaganda, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Kim, I know
Longer, but you know what I mean.
I mean, Ronald Reagan continued to roast in hell for that.
Yes.
Oh my God, does he ever? I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you're saying maybe your laptop will die, and I've been there. So if you need to get your charger, get it.
I
But
can yell for my boyfriend to bring it if you could excuse me for 2 seconds.
I would love
yeah.
to. No,
Get that-
I
get
want to
that
hear you
charger.
yell at your boyfriend.
Here, we'll take you out of the stream as you
Damn it.
as you get it. Oh, we wanted to hear that.
I just wanted to hear.
Jeremy! That's what I do. I text Matt. I'm like, I forgot my water.
Okay, babe.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
so the last thing I was gonna say is, I was driving by a Jack in the Box the other day. You can't leave now, James.
I'm not.
I don't care if you've got a dog. I don't care if that dog is dying.
The dog literally fell in the pool, which is
Not during the show,
sentence.
right?
What?
Not during
Right
the show, right?
Right before the show.
Oh my God.
So I had to run and towel him off, and now he's going crazy, and he's running on their whole house is going to smell like wet dog when they get back. But I only get $50 a day, so fuck them. I don't care. I'm just here to hang out with Norm.
Yeah, you get to hang out. Can you have a party and like invite your friends over?
Come on over.
Hell yeah.
All
I'm
right.
there, dude. There's a pool. I heard that a dog fell in the pool, which means I could probably fall in the pool. I'm very excited about that.
He's so great, but yeah, that was him barking. I apologize.
No, it's all good. Maybe we
I
have
think
Kim
we have
back.
some movement.
Yeah.
Let's see
Well,
if
I
it
was gonna
reaches-
say that I was driving past like a Jack in the Box, and
Oh, what?
obviously this is in LA, so it's the cost of living is way higher, but it's also fucking Jack in the Box. And it's like starting wages are $17 an hour. And then you see, like, I think there was a Panera that was also like starting wage $18 an hour. You're like, oh shit. Like, I think that a lot of this stuff is working. I think that a lot of corporations are running scared. They know it's hard to hire people and keep them. And, you know, whether or not it's unionizing, obviously that are going to get them to drive up wages, which is the only thing that truly will. But, you know, the mass resignation, the stimulus money that helped workers that had a little bit more, as we called it on the other day, like fuck you money. Doug Henwood said that on this program a few months ago, that, you know, workers having more fuck you money, and corporations know that. So, yeah, they're going to have to shell out money they've always had.
Right. And I know we're not just shitting on Dems, but one of my big disappointments is that I think a lot of people are going to go to the ballot box in November and feel like they had it better in like that first year under Trump in terms of being helped out. And I know that's not true. And I know like Republican, one of their main evil things is they set everything to expire after they're out of office and then get bad. But like, but like the child
strategy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And Democrats should do the same. I mean,
no, Democrats end their own popular programs while they're still in office.
Well, this is polling at 99%. We're done, right? We're done with this? Yeah. Right.
That goodwill will extend. We don't need to keep doing the child tax credit. I think my biggest problem
that's what I was going to say. Like the amount of children lifted out of poverty, which what could be more popular than that? Lifting children out of poverty. And I don't know, because Joe Biden wouldn't take Joe Manchin to a dark room and beat him with a tire iron. Here we are.
I'm bringing Kim back in. Hopefully,
please. I'm unhinged.
You are. I mean, you're insane.
Wet dog.
We got a wet dog. Our laptops are dying. Kim Kelly, you wrote a book, Fight Like Hell, The Untold History of American Labor. It is out now. Everyone should get it. She says she can't hear me, but that's okay. I'll just type it to her.
This is what they do. This is what they do. On May Day.
This is what she does. How can you stage a worker strike on my program? You know what I mean?
Oh, we should have made picket signs for you. Like 1 hour podcast.
Yes, she should be like, I've read the receipt. The receipts say it was only going to be on for an hour. And this is a lot longer than that. And you'd be right, Kim. Hey, let's take a moment. I'm going to do a couple of announcements and James is going to suck it up and deal with it. But you guys know we have merchandise. Bitchuationroom.com. Please get a t-shirt, get a Frantifa shirt. Those are my faves. Get a tote bag. I'm working on a bitch cap. At some point, I'll get a bitch cap. Because, you get your bitch caps on. And
working
guys,
on a bitch cap.
Working on a bitch cap. It sounds like you're working on a nightcap, but it's a bitch cap. Also, happy Eid Mubarak to anyone who's celebrating. In addition to May Day, in addition to Asian American Pacific Islander Month. Happy all that. And then also, if you guys are around on Wednesdays, 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time, might I suggest you tune into the Twitchuation Room, which is on TYT's Twitch, twitch.tv/TYT. It's really fun. It's just me, sometimes my cat. And I bring in a lot of good stories, and it's a raucous, rompous. It's a really good time. I'm just going to say it's a good time.
Rhombus?
And
is it a rhombus as well?
It's a rompus. It's a raucous rompus in a rhomboid. And remember, after this, as I stall continually, you should definitely check out the Twitchuation Room. But after this, James and I are going to look at the White House Press Correspondents' Dinner. And if you are a patron of the show, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room, you get access to all that bonus material. We do extra bonus stories every single week. And so we're going to break all that down. And because we're so close to 300 patrons, if you are the 300th patron,
I will come to your house.
James will come to your house with a wet dog. Yeah. And or he'll invite you to the house he is currently house sitting at.
I do have a place to live.
Generally, I live at my own home, which has 4 walls and a roof.
And exists, and my girlfriend is real.
Sure. Oh, wow. Now we're adding a girlfriend to this?
Come on.
Cool. Well, anyway, all to say, if you're the 300th patron, you will be brought into the bonus bish, and we'll have a lot of fun. So please, please, please join up. Kim Kelly, do we have you back?
I think so.
Yay!
I have a whole little set. Yeah, we've been running around. We've been tech supporting. We've been troubleshooting.
Amazing. Well, briefly, I just want to. So, okay, your book, which I just have to say, congratulations, because I feel like I kept up with the progress on Twitter, where you're like, oh my god, I've got to,
a slow mind meld that I did for 2 years.
Fight Like Hell, The Untold History of American Labor. It is just, even looking at the contents, you're like, I want to read this so fast. You break down the chapters by sector, and you kind of give everyone sort of like this like hero title, or like they're like, who was organizing in what period of time. The garment workers, the miners, the harvesters, the metal workers, the movers. Out of all those chapters, which was the chapter that you had the most fun writing, that you were like, this one slaps?
I think one of the ones that was the most satisfying, at least, was also the hardest. It took me the longest, the chapter called The Prisoners on Incarcerated Workers. Because, first of all, like, some of the people I interviewed, I couldn't just, like, text them, because they're in prison. So it took a little time to get all my interviews in order and all that. But I also, going into it, I didn't know very much about the history of that movement before like 2014. Because I know all about, I walked the Industrial Works of the World's Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee. and I've been following that for, I guess, since the jump. But as I was researching this chapter, I found out that there was this really incredible intersection in the 1970s of like the Black Power movement, the Chicano Power movement, the prisoners' rights movement, and this entire prisoners' labor union movement. That there's really only a couple of scholars, like Dan Berger is a great one, who have really kind of gotten into it, and Donald Tibbs, he wrote a really great book about it. But at one point in this country,
old comrade Dan Berger. Anyway, keep going.
At one point in this country, like during the 70s, there were prisoners unions in like Rhode Island and Maine and Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Minnesota, like all over the place. And there's actually a quote in Donald Tibbs' book, Black Power to Prison Power, The Making of Jones versus North Carolina Prisoners Labor Union. There are chapters in virtually every prison where there was a union. Like 90% of the people wanted to be involved.
Wow. And
this was really just, there was so much momentum there. There's so much happening there. And the government was like, wait, we can't be having that. And in 1977, the Supreme Court decision called Jones versus North Carolina Prisoners Labor Union basically removed these incarcerated workers' rights as workers by saying people in prison do not have the right to organize or join a labor union. Damn. They just like cut that off at the knees. Or like, oh, you thought you were people. Right. No. We can't be having that. And that really kind of threw a wrench in the gears with that whole movement. It didn't end prisoners' labor union organizing with behind the walls, but it definitely hurt it because like they were really doing some incredible things there. And then the government was like, oh, no.
Right.
We can't.
But all those guys who decided that really like Johnny Cash.
yeah, coming out of North Carolina, like I'm sure there are a lot of good old boys who thought they were rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's crazy. And did you follow that up until today, or a little bit, or that's just sort of like it was? I mean, I think a lot of labor organizing was quashed in like the 70s, right? That was kind of that was the move, especially when, Reagan came into power later, but like that, the sort of backlash started then.
I mean, a lot of movements were crushed in the 70s, right?
Yeah, a lot of movements were crushed.
That's kind of the theme of the 70s.
Great time for music, bad time for social movements. We all agree.
Yeah, like the 70s pop up a lot in the book, just in different demographics and different groups of workers doing different things. But the way that I structured it is less like, it's not super chronological because that's kind of boring to me. It's it kind of jumps around from like era to era. And it ended on, actually, one of my best friends was in Rikers while I was writing the book, and he helped organize a strike early on in the COVID pandemic when they were, like, him and his bunkmates weren't getting soap or masks or any of the things you need to survive.
Rikers is insane, man.
Yeah. Like, he made it out, but, like, he knew guys in there that were, like, working as grave diggers for COVID victims with no PPE. Like, it was fucking gnarly.
What could go wrong?
That's insane. Grave digger. I know.
Wrong?
No, that's oh my God. Like, yes, and over here in California, we send them to fight fires, and of course, when they get out, not able to become firefighters.
Right.
Not able.
Yeah, I think there's some legislation potentially in the works to address that, or maybe like some half-assed kind of thing.
Yes.
I think because like the governor got shamed so hard about it.
Yes.
I don't know where that's at.
It's California. At most, it'll be 1/4 ass. It won't even be half.
Yeah. We'll give 25% ass. Newsom will do it right before he tries to once again get reelected.
Right.
Because all the other but then he'll get recalled again and we'll have to fucking fight for him again. I hate this state. Anyway. Yep. So in your introduction, you have this. I mean, you're a really great writer. Can I just say you're an awesome writer, and this book reads like it wants to be read, and I encourage everyone to get it. But you write, there are precious few history books that focus on labor at all, and the stories of poor and working class women, Black people, Latino people, Indigenous people, Asian and Pacific Islander people, immigrants of all backgrounds, religious minorities, queer and trans people, disabled people, the sex workers, and the undocumented people whose work is criminalized, and people who are incarcerated seldom get top billing when it's time to publish. It's a damn shame, too, because those are the very people who had the most to lose, yet have found it within themselves to give more and fight harder than anyone else. I love that. And I wanted to ask you, in addition to incarcerated organizers, what is another like favorite story from these, like not covered in your standard labor history, over American labor history overview?
Sure, and of course, when I say labor books, I mean the books that like anybody can go pick up on a shelf, right? Like there's all kinds of like incredible scholars and historians who have preserved these stories and written great academic books that I used in my research. But it's not super accessible. Like that history is not just something you can find in Barnes and Noble all the time. And also something that I really enjoy doing was kind of exploring the intersections, because Marsha P. Johnson is a labor icon. But I don't know if that is necessarily a connection that you would find in many other books. But like, not only was she an icon of like trans liberation, like queer liberation, like we know about her in Stonewall, she was also a sex worker and she was a disabled woman. And the work that she and especially her, Sylvia Rivera, and Miss Major Griffin Gracie, they're all engaged in sex work at various points in their careers, and they used those funds to help support queer and trans youth. They used their money from hustling, as they called it, to purchase a building in the East Village to serve as a haven for these youth. Rivera said in an interview from 1998 that I have in the book, "We fed people and clothed people. We kept the building going. We went out and hustled the streets. We paid the rent." So as sex workers, as queer and trans like organizers, like it's all connected. So it was cool to be able to pull that all together and be like, look, like, yeah, shout out to Marsha P. Johnson on Labor Day too.
Yes. And in terms of like the sort of same forces we're seeing now, in terms of union, like strike breakers, union busting, corporate tactics, all that, what else do you feel like, and what did you learn in terms of the things that hampered the labor movement, beyond those external forces and even political forces? Like, was there anything that surprised you or interested you or sort of like raised a little flag? I mentioned very, very early in this show about kind of the ways that unions often have ignored immigrant labor, for example, as a sector of organizing, as a sector to be, and on a May Day, on a previous May Day, I believe in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, it was the day without an immigrant, massive walkouts in cities like Chicago of immigrants, documented and undocumented, saying, we run these towns, we run these cities, like this is our labor helps these cities run. Anyway, so anything about like sort of the historic like hampering of the movement?
Sure. Obviously, racism and xenophobia. Those are the big ones. And because this is America. But also, even within the labor movement, like I think that when you love something, you should be allowed to criticize it. And there are a lot of really ugly chapters in the American labor movement's history. Yeah. There were like entire eras where the people in power and labor were actively trying to disenfranchise and discriminate against entire swaths of workers. Even the Chinese Exclusion Act, 1882, the AFL, American Federation of Labor, they're all about it. They're big fans. Yeah. They're like, oh, we don't want like these new workers come here and take jobs from our members. This was in the 1880s. Think about how many times you've heard that throughout history, throughout our lifetimes. I mean, we saw that really pop up again during World War II when the Bracero program was bringing lots of Mexican guest workers to come work in the fields because other people were overseas doing some shit, and we needed to keep the economy going. And there's some labor folks, labor leaders who are like, oh, well, this is no good. Like, what about our members? What about our jobs? Like, these folks are taking our jobs. And it's like, well, we could have seen that. They could have used that as an opportunity to be like, oh, there's all these new workers here. Let's organize them. So then everyone will be our members and we'll be stronger. But instead, they took this like narrow little worldview that screwed themselves over and screwed over these workers that were just trying to pay their fucking rent. Like there's so many instances throughout history, and
but you're seeing similar to. I just feel like you see it similarly today in the bad faith ways that like the far right can sort of dog whistle to, as if the coal miners are all white and are all willing to just throw any person of color under the bus. You know what I mean? Like there is this. You see a similar thread and through line, of course, to today.
I mean, they should take a trip down to Alabama and see the guys leading the strike in Brookwood, because that is, I think that specific UMWA local is like one of the most integrated, and they have been since the 1890s. Like, it's nothing is a monolith in this country, especially not the labor movement. And there is no one type of union worker. There's no one type of union member. Like, I had somebody at the book launch the other day in New York asked me this like long question that was basically like, well, since union members are basically blue collar white guys, blah blah blah. And I was like, well,
what?
Like, the most common union worker you're gonna find in America is a black woman who works in healthcare or like the service industry. So like these weird outdated ideas that they weren't even true back then. Like, I wrote a whole book about how they weren't even true back then. It's just trying to like cleanse our minds of that weird stereotype that's just standing in our own way.
Right. Or if it's like, but also it's a way to value like kind of white jobs over everybody else, or like the myth of the white male worker over everybody else. And absolutely that's been used to divide people, and for sure has been used by bosses to try and break strikes and stuff.
Sorry.
Oh, the last thing I was going to say is I remember, we've talked to organizers who, with the One Fair Wage campaign, who are working on ending the tipped wage because of how it is discriminatory and racist. Tips are generally, but like how you have like front of house and usually wealthier like servers who are like, no, let's not get rid of it. Because essentially I'm here because I'm making more than the cooks, and I'm making more than, the bussers and whatever. And I don't want to be paid. I want to continually be paid more. And like, which is the opposite of like a certain like holistic solidarity that'll help everyone.
There's a little tidbit that you can read more about it in the book, but the practice of tipping in the US was popularized on the Pullman sleeper car rail line because the guy who ran it, fucking old Joey Pullman himself, encouraged passengers to basically, like, the Pullman porters at the time were all black men, predominantly from the South, predominantly dark skinned. There's a whole like weird fucked up racist dynamic intentionally set up there. But basically, like, those workers were predominantly, they depended on tips to supplement their wages, and that made them have to like act in a certain obsequious way to these customers, these white customers. And I guess his other Gilded Age robber baron buddies saw that and were like, oh, that's an idea. So yeah, all this stuff, it goes back so far. It's so
Think for
ingrained.
your supper, yeah. I mean, that's right. That's why there's like 800 old folk songs like about porters and stuff, like, like it's one of the oldest. Yep. Finally, the workers overthrew the boss.
Oh, right. It's like 9:30 here. I gotta go to bed. I'm old.
I don't know what happened. Well, finally, she's gone. It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, this is fun.
I can't wait to read the book.
Oh, thanks. She's a big girl. I got some somewhere, but people seem to like it, which is really cool. I wrote it so people could like read it on their break or on the bus or just pick it up, put it down. Because like I know a 300 some page history book is a little intimidating. Like I don't want to read that shit. And I wrote one, so I tried to make it fun.
I appreciate. Did you talk about? I mean, of course you did, but like being a biased native Kentuckian. Any surprising things you learned about, the whole Eastern Kentucky coal mining, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, Matewan, all that shit?
Yeah, I got to go down there for the Blair Mountain Centennial a couple months ago and met some of the local 1440 boys. There's definitely some mine war stuff in there. A little bit of Mother Jones. There's a whole chapter on mining. Miner sounds weird. Like various coal miners and copper miners, people that mine things.
Right.
But there's so many really good books that have been written about like Kentucky and like Appalachia. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and find some things that people don't know as much about.
I'm ignorant, so I was like,
oh no, I mean the
John Sayles movie. What have you talked about that there's been a movie made of? I'm stupid. Yeah.
Matewan. I still haven't seen it, so I'm a cinematic dumbass. So there we go.
Really good.
But it is. Oh, what's happening in the control room? Oh, it looks. Francesca's power went out. Yo, this has been cursed.
Dude,
but it's been a nice time.
It has been.
Yeah, this is fun. This is a very long late night podcast.
You're in Philly.
Yeah, I have to write a whole. I'm doing a keynote
daylight out here
tomorrow. Oh yeah, you guys are just. You have a whole day left. I'm like, my old bed is downstairs. I gotta feed him some chicken noodle soup. He's got the icks. They said for us to say goodbye. So okay.
Okay. What would you like to plug? Thanks for doing the James Fritz show. We're here every week.
Yeah.
Finally, a straight white male voice on YouTube.
Talk about the untold history of America.
I'm being canceled.
That's enough internet for today.
All right, Kim, what would you like to plug?
Holy shit! What a
she's back to cancel me. See?
Oh no! What'd you say? What'd you say about?
I became a straight white guy hosting a YouTube show, and I just lost it and started talking about cancel culture.
Yeah, we started talking about Kentucky. It was great. We were very well behaved. Nothing
good.
But
I hope
good
everyone. I hope you babysat the chat very well, and I just want to not take your. You're like, there's comments? Oh yeah, hell yeah, there's a chat.
Never read the comments, and I've taken that. I've internalized that very deeply as a lady who writes about things on the internet.
Good girl. Good.
I read
very
a comment.
Good. Very
I read a
good.
comment about me earlier today that wrecked me for like an hour, and then I was like, "Oh, I haven't eaten or had coffee yet."
Who has anything negative to say about you, James? Either of you?
Come on.
I call bullshit. Sorry about that power outage. This has been a day, you guys.
Yeah.
Let's just thank Kim and let her go. Everybody, get the book. Can you show it to us? I feel like you had it somewhere.
I had it in my other setup.
Oh damn, that's right. See look what I've done. Oh, it is. Wait, give us a side profile. Give us that. How thick is that thing?
Yeah, how juicy is that?
Oh yeah, that's
like a third of this thing is like
slap that book up.
There's a lot going on. The bibliography alone could be a whole other book. So please do me a favor and read that fucking thing.
Read the bibliography first, everybody.
Buy it on Amazon, right?
Oh my god, it's very funny that those numbers matter a lot. But I'm like, nobody who likes my things is gonna buy shit on Amazon. But if they do, thank you. But also bookshop.org or indie.
Yeah, try something else first.
Yes. Yeah.
Find a union bookstore and have them order it for you. That is like the peak ideal situation for me.
There you go.
But also just
Kelly,
beg, borrow, steal it. I don't care, man. Just read it.
Definitely steal it. And just get your goddamn hands on it and gift it to all of your friends. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody follow Kim on Twitter at Grim Kim. Follow her reporting. She just crushes it on. And are you touring with the book?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm doing DC and Baltimore this week. I'm gonna do a bunch more stuff in the Midwest in June and like the West Coast a little bit. I'm trying to get down south. I want to go everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere they'll allow me to step foot.
Great.
We have a bunch
inside the Bessemer warehouse again. Inside a prison. That would actually be really dope.
I feel there's ways I could end up there. I don't know if it would be for research. So, thank you for keeping me out of trouble on this May Day evening. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.
We'll see you later. Thank you and take good care. James, you've hung on. You've commandeered the show for me.
Well, I'm waiting for a dog to dry. I can't really go anywhere.
Well, I appreciate it. Can we do one more final segment before we jump over?
We can do whatever you want.
Hell yeah. All right, you guys, let's do this. We're getting into it because this is the week, obviously, where Elon decided he wants Twitter to be his own personal plaything.
New shiny thing.
Oops, he broke it. And I gotta say, I think the thing that annoys me the most about this bid, because it might not go through, he might not be able to buy it. I don't
know. Usually when he says he's going to do something, it happens 100% of the time and on time.
I mean, we are on Mars.
Yep.
Currently.
I haven't been exploded in a car. Yeah.
That was all fake news. Yeah, everyone who ever was exploded has been fired from, on fire, but also fired.
Really? How do we know they weren't climate change protesters? I'm sorry.
They're all Greta Thunberg, deep state, false flag actors, crisis actors.
The new Tesla false flag coming this fall.
God.
He's so online, he might name a car that.
He's so severely online. Take a billionaire, already shit personality, and then take a severely online personality. No disrespect, but already a shit personality. Not to you, but to the chat.
I was like, have you seen my
my presence?
Have you seen, yeah. I'm like
And then you smush them
together on
together.
Instagram. Don't worry about my ego.
You put them together and you get Elon Musk's bid. But anyway, the point is, I feel like we need to envision a better future for, the internet.
If you can dream it, you can achieve it. Right?
Exactly. So this is what kind of social network would you build, if any? This is our socialist media. And everyone else, please chime in. What do you need? What do you require? Do you want is it just an edit button or is there something more?
Edit buttons are bad.
I would love a autocorrect. A little bit, but I don't, that's small. Well, that's peanuts.
You know
this is small potatoes.
5-minute timer.
Yeah, okay.
Because the edit button, like, that's too, I don't know. Someone could say something vile and then change, and it could be retweeted, and then they could change it. But 5 minutes, I figure.
5-minute rule. It's like dropping something on the ground.
Yeah. Hey, you dropped this on the floor, which is Twitter.
You drop this really stupid fucking tweet on the floor.
Right.
Do you want to dust it off and eat it?
Eating is like a retweeting. So I'm lost.
What is your ideal? What's your new social media, James? We don't want to be in the hands of, a totalitarian state like with TikTok or fucking was once used to rank
so I didn't
girls.
prepare too hard for this show.
Oh no, that's important. Yeah, no, don't work. But off the dome.
This is Hollywood. It has to be existing IP. So Marvel, Truth Marvel, something like that. We can't have a new idea.
So it's gonna be a Disney platform.
Twitter is 90% talking about Marvel products anyway. It seems like every time I log in, no matter I don't give a fuck about Marvel, but algorithm be damned. I like Martin Scorsese connected to Marvel in the like Marvel.
That opinion gets suppressed. If you talk about any other film that isn't a Marvel movie on Marvel Truth.
Truth Marvel.
I'm sorry. Truth Marvel. That gets suppressed. You're like, hey, I really liked everything everywhere all the time at once. Nah.
Yeah. What would Thanos have done? Oh, they did a multiverse first.
Exactly. This is just like indie Marvel, which is inherently crap.
Okay, that's my first pick.
Who is it? Strange? Doctor Strange would have a lot to say.
Or how I learned to stop worrying and love the Marvel.
Oh, that's Doctor Strange Marvel. Yes, I thought I was like, which one's the Doctor on the Marvel? I'm horrible with Marvel shows as well, but I like that.
Why would you be? They're all so vastly different from each other, and it isn't just a never-ending pool of content that is okay but meaningless.
The same. I just don't like. I'm just not that into. I'm not that into the superhero stuff. I used to dig X-Men, and then I'm like, eh. But okay, so Truth Marvel, I love that, where we sort of we're like, there is a Thanos, or maybe we're like, actually there is.
Oh, there's a button you snap and it erases.
Oh, it erases the whole thing.
Erases your whole. Yes, the whole platform gets erased and we start over.
I love that. So every single day you're like, who's going to be the person to press the button, the Thanos button?
Yeah, and you get one press per lifetime. Everyone on the platform.
That's good. That is good. I like that.
Actually,
mine's a little more. What's up,
honey? Oh, okay. I didn't know what that noise was. Okay, I'm sorry.
I thought you were talking to me. I was like, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Darling.
No, the dog is wet and insane.
So okay, my very quickly, my platform is called Guillotine, but without any of the vowels. So it's like guillotine.
Sure.
Guillotine.
Yeah.
Guillotine, and it's
Get her done.
Yeah, get her done. Guillotine, get her done, and you have to enter your tax information because you have to make it less than 100,000 a year.
I like this.
So you can only join if you make less than 100,000. And all you can share on Guillotine is 1, cute animal videos, and 2, discussions about which billionaires need to die.
Okay, I like that.
And that's it. That is it. It can only be cute, not animals being hurt. It's cute, animal, adorable, sloth in a basket falling asleep. Or I think that Elon would I think that Elon should wear diapers when we take him to the gallows so he doesn't shit all over the platform, because I don't want to clean up his shit.
Wearing diapers is the only way he can come. Come on. It's Elon, baby. He's a fucking freak.
Obviously, I'm joking, YouTube censors and people who will dig this up when I run for office one day.
So, I hope no one digs this when I run at Elon Musk with a knife. What? No. Why do I keep... All right, I got a second idea.
What's up?
All right, social media platform, but you have to blow into a breathalyzer to prove you're drunk to use it, and it's run by Doug Stanhope. Because he believes in free speech, but he's also a nice guy who hates bullies, and he renounced his libertarianism.
Did he?
Oh, a while back. Yeah, he's like,
okay,
that was stupid. That was bad.
All right, I like that. And now is he sober or is he still drink?
No.
So right, no. My man is a drunk. So okay, I love this. You have to be drunk in order to tweet.
And if everyone knew that, I think it would make the whole community be like, they're just drunk.
I agree with you. If everyone stopped trying to be smart and could just be sloppy, we would win.
It's called Sorry So Sloppy.
Sorry So Sloppy?
Yeah.
Triple S? I like this.
Yeah.
And would it be owned by a billionaire, or would it be collectively, or would it be like sponsored by like Jack Daniels or something?
No, it would be sponsored by Svetka.
The 22-year-old me is very excited about this sponsorship. She would have preferred Absolute, but she'll do Svetka if she has to.
Or no, it's sponsored by Popoff, the cheapest.
I don't know.
I want to meet whoever owns Popoff. That's the
is
really
Popoff?
cheap one, right? That's like the gut rock vodka, I believe.
Oh
right?
God. I when I am able to drink again, I mean I can, but like baby and stuff.
Yeah, you got a little narc in your belly.
I do. Fucking such a fucking I want to be able to try whip shots, which is Cardi B's like whipped cream with vodka in it. I think that'd be pretty yummy. That's a sexy ass gift also to get somebody. Anyway, we're getting off topic, and the topic is this. Our show is over. Except for the patrons, where we're going to talk about the White House Press Correspondence Center. James Fritz, you're so goddamn funny. Where can people find you and your work?
My handle is Fritz is dead on everything, because I thought that would be funny when I was younger, and now it's scary.
Now that I'm 41 or 44, it's getting closer. Awesome.
I like a guy who lies about his age, but I'm not 44. I'm 41. It's like, what?
Ooh.
What?
Wow. I was going to say.
I'm even shaving it to 40.
Or you make it like 37.
Right. No, it's dumb. This character I'm doing is dumb.
He is in quotes. He doesn't think it's dumb. He thinks it's very, very ingenious. Everybody follow James Fritz on all the socials. Go see him live when you can, and take very good care, James. I'll see you in the bonus later. And thank you guys. Oh, I'm fuzzy. Woo. Thank you guys for sticking around through the ups and downs of that wild show, from laptops losing battery to dogs falling in pools to my power going out. I wanted to thank you guys, of course, with the fart song. Is this at all on? No. Okay. See, our troubles only continue. Fuck the fart song for right now. Let's read your goddamn comments, you guys. Hef on YouTube says they need to put cigarettes back in candy machines where they belong. Thank you. Hef also given a super chat. Loyal to Mama Fran. Thank you so much. Bruce Vardy on YouTube. Loyalty Day was originally called Americanization Day in 1921 for the first time. Finally enacted in 1955 by Eisenhower. Going way back. Omega Shenron Dragon, thank you for the super chat in JT's voice. It's finally May. Hi guys, this will be undercover boss at Starbucks. Hey Tommy. Okay. Hey, Tommy is doing too much. Wait, I thought I was supposed to. Hey, Tommy's doing too much. He's sus. Starbucks CEO was ejected. 0 imposters remain. Full victory, full unionization. I butchered that comment, Omega. Butchered. You're going to have to just describe it a little bit better for me. I'm really bad with just like cold table reads. You know what I'm saying? Raul Davila, do you think Whole Foods or other things owned by Amazon will also unionize due to its momentum? Yes, absolutely. I absolutely think so. Camperman 5000, the Fritzuation room. I assume that's when I was gone. Groove Dragon. Groove Dragon says, be kind, please. And I don't know what this is reference to, but I want to say it's in reference to what kind of social media we would want. And that's sort of like the bar. And then Dark Star Mike 85 said, hello, Francesca. I've been loving Behind the Bastards with John Wayne. Yes, with obviously Robert Evans, but I've been on Behind the Bastards. You guys should all listen to that as well. And let me see, are there any other? Bama Raider 12 says delivery drivers should come in and pour out their pee bottles on the manager's floor. Lol. Martin says I broke up with Amazon about 4 months ago and so far not missing them. That's something we all strive to do. It's just every once in a while I get like a thing. And yeah, let's see. John Don Nor says, new guy. I'd like to apply for one of the management jobs. Amazon, are you a sociopath? New guy. Yes, I am. Amazon, you're hired. There we go. See, I could read that one out. Thank you very much, John Don. Appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who chimed in, who's been here, who's like stuck around for this whole insane show. And of course, now it is time for a proper ceremonial fart song. I gotta thank the new patrons at $10 or more. First of all, every patron matters. Hashtag all patrons matter. But of course, thanking the people who gave $10 or more. Zednew, XEDNIEW. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's awesome. Thank you for being a patron at $10 or more. Big tippers, Robert G, who really had a week. Robert, you shouldn't have. Robert, you're very generous. Thank you. Joseph L, of course, as always. To the Twitch subs, Brandy Lou 2, Harry Balsich, Chris Huggy, Lizzie Nepon, Aussie Plant Dragon, Calm Like a Bomb, Grandpa Dragon 1953, Atom Bomb, Pagan Communist, Fitzich. And thank you for the super chats again, Hef, Omega Shenron Dragon, and Raul Davila. We will see you next week, every Sunday, 5/8 Eastern on 5/8 Eastern, yes, on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you to Paige Oamek for crushing it as always as the producer of this show, to Maximillien Inhoff, to Alexandra Ornes on the other side of the chats. Please follow the show on TikTok at Franny Fio, and Instagram at Franny Fio, and on Twitter at Bitchuation Pod. And remember, y'all, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it, be about it. Peace.